2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Early nominating contests build momentum for 2024 contenders seeking the White House. C-SPAN is the place for political campaign enthusiasts, with unfiltered coverage surrounding the early primaries and caucuses, as well as speeches from key battleground states. Whether you're interested in your state's race or want to follow all of the political events, you can get immediate access to what the candidates are saying, plus nominating results in real time with the free mobile app, C-SPAN Now, or watch live on the C-SPAN networks.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast. It's Tuesday night. It's 9 p.m., where every week we meet together as fans to converse about the latest Panthers news and opinions. Sadly, that news is been thin. And until the COVID crisis breaks, the news of sports and the sports media talk that you will hear will be thin. But we're going to do our best tonight to entertain you with, I guess, some discussion about kids and Curtis Samuel and the future of the Carolina Panthers. And I do it with my homeboys each and every week. We got Cody Lashney in the house. Let me make sure I've turned on your mic. The mic is on, homie. Let your voice be heard.
I will let my voice be heard. And you know what, Tony? ESPN, Fox, for months, they were having to do what we're doing right here. And they still weren't as good as us, man. And
Amen.
You know what? Dude, this is the best Panther show on YouTube. I don't give a damn what anyone else says. And we have
because we on it.
We have the most lit Panther fans in our YouTube chat. Richard's Outdoor World, Jeremy Clancy, Underground West, my brother Pigskin Pete, Codizzle Allen is joining us next, Tony Dunn, but everyone's here. Ain't nothing to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
We see y'all, folks. We see you. And now see us by smashing that thumbs up button. Come on, folks. You're watching the show. Smash the thumbs up button. Help us grow as a podcast in the time of no growth. Imagine the world of sports podcasts being like a plant right now. And we are in a drought. We're like the drought of the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. So give us a little fertilization with a damn thumbs up, a share, a subscribe, and check out our homeboys too who are doing work on the internets. And one of those is my man CK, the streaming voice nightmare of the internet.
Well, I'm just happy to be here at this point in time. I've been getting some streaming done. I'm
just messing with you guys. I've just having fun doing this streaming thing and enjoying it, and then we just get raked over the coals with some goat stuff that Cody has to talk about.
Oh gosh, Cody is he's the goat of the show when it comes to social media.
Dude, Twitter hates my ass, bro. Have you been reading my mentions?
Or they love you.
Like it, man. People
No
don't
wonder.
like me, man.
You want to know why Cody doesn't respond to us when we mention him? Because he got 7,000 mentions, and he's like, "Oh, I thought I saw Tony's name in there, but instead I'm going to argue with this other douchebag."
Cody knows what it's like to be a celebrity now and not be able to like respond to anything except for that, just like that one.
You're
tweet
the
just
Jeff
making
Schwartz.
What any tweet with a celebrity sounds like has to deal with.
Are you now Jeff Schwartz?
Dude, I don't know who Jeff Schwartz is.
Isn't that the dude that was he's a former offensive lineman for the Carolina Panthers. I think that's his name. His brother plays line for but he only talks to if you argue with him. Like if you try to say something like legitimate, you never respond. But if you be like, you got the littlest dick I've ever seen in my life, he'll be like, what? I will show you my penis.
I'll have to try that next time.
All right.
But yeah, man, I just put out a well-timed tweet right when that whole thing was trending, and dude, my mentions were in shambles. But listen,
we'll
I'm
get
also
into
not
it.
absolving. I'm not absolving myself of any of the blame too, because I'm an asshole on Twitter and I admit it. And I have no problem saying that.
A little opportunism, right? A little opportunism there.
I have no problem telling stupid people exactly how stupid they are, dude, and I have fun doing it. So follow me on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac.
We've also got Greg, the Bat Daddy, the master of podcasts, the master of building buildings. Every time I turn on my social media, Greg, you're releasing a podcast.
Yeah, I'm doing about. Actually, I sat and looked at it. I'm doing 5 this week in a row. So every week this week. But you know what? This one right here's always at the top is most fun. It's fan interaction, hanging out with you guys. I don't know what I would do if sports are going on right now, and this is the only kind of sports.
Right. This is the only reason you can do 5 podcasts. Right? Is that when sports comes about, you'll be. We expect you to be somewhat intermittent, but just because you have to live and work. But how are you even going to watch the fucking games, right?
I reserve Sundays for no podcasting for that reason.
Well, wrong, because now we do a post-game show. Well, you could just call into it. You could just call
that's just
into
an
it.
emotional reaction at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's all that is. That's a therapy session. That's not podcasting.
Right. You're listening to the C3 Panthers podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Just Google the longest running Panthers podcast or the C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash the thumbs up button. We're on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, all the major podcasting networks, and on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Shoot us an email. CarolinaCatChronicles@gmail.com, and the phone number to call into the show is 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Guys, the show tonight is Cam has a lot of kids and Curtis Samuel isn't a bust. There's really we had Father's Day this past week, and I saw a great, you got to love the social media warriors who have always been loyal to Cam Newton and the Panthers, and they're going to get upset too. And I think it was Carolina Abby who said, I'm upset with these articles coming out on various, 247 or whatever, pick it. I don't know. There's 1,000 different sites to read articles, right? But it was like they put out an article about how many kids Cam had with 2 women, step kids. He's totaling up of 7 kids right now. So the post Father's Day read is Cam has a lot of kids. I find this to be the most irrelevant conversation ever, because if anybody can have a lot of kids, I would assume it's a multi-millionaire. We were talking. Wait, generally, don't we get on people for being too selfish to not have kids? I mean, I want to say.
Can we talk about the fact that Phillip Rivers has a like?
Oh yeah, he's like an Amish. Phillip Rivers is like
he's got 8.
Baker. He has like 20 kids.
Mm-hmm.
He's Catholic. I'm Catholic, and part of the Catholic doctrine is to not use contraceptives. Catholics actually don't say have a lot of babies. They just say don't use contraceptives, which usually equates to a lot of babies. Right? So in that one hand, that's my point is who cares if you got a lot of kids, if you got a lot of money? The problem is
take care of them, exactly.
Yeah, the problem is generally us who have a lot of kids and don't have a lot of money, i.e. me.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, man. This is such a pointless story. It's almost like trying to draw at straws for something to complain about Cam about for no reason at all. Like, what's the point? What is the end game to saying that or to making that statement? Like, what
Cam Newton
does he expect to turn people around?
Cam Newton not being signed reportedly because he has 5 children.
Right. Yeah. Like,
a lot of concerns with GMs about the potential familial ramifications of signing Cam Newton. Like, what the? Like, their health insurance plan's going to go up? It's so stupid. All right, let's talk about something cooler.
It's a symptom of our society, though, man. If it's dumb and stupid and seems important, they run with it, man. That's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and and there's a lot there's a lot of outcry. There's a lot of we're restless at the moment as a society, and I want to promote activism. I want to promote energy, advocacy, all those things. But when you see that just come into like kind of smear campaigns, is a little problematic, and so for instance, you can look at this one just being with an individual in sports. I saw that the Grant statue had been vandalized, and I'm 100% against for tearing down Confederate monuments because I think it's a weird, bizarre component of our society where the loser somehow came out the victor. But Grant is the dude who smashed those mugs, right? So let's have that energy and advocacy, but let's channel it into places that we can really make a difference, like Twitter, where Cody made a difference.
Dude, I'm making a difference, man. You can't tell me otherwise.
Tell us what happened. Set the stage. What was... Because I have a big problem with the tweet that the Panthers put out. And we're going to talk about this because I think it's important to talk about the actual tweet itself. But tell us, Cody, how have you become so famous?
One, I'm not famous. I'm only famous when I say stupid shit.
You're infamous.
Yeah, that's even better, dude. I'm infamous. On June 17th, so I believe this was last Wednesday, the Panthers go on Twitter, and if you follow Twitter at all, there's this trend of choosing, between 3 options, and you either comment, retweet, or like the tweet to show what you pick. So the Panthers are jumping in on this trend, and they go, choose your GOAT. Now this is from the official
and the
Panthers
GOAT. They put up the GOAT symbol too.
But this is important too. Even the wording right here, because we'll get into it. But it says choose your GOAT. That's it. Nothing else. No specifications. Julius Peppers.
He's great.
Steve Smith Sr.
Great.
And Luke Kuechly.
Great.
Now none of us are arguing that those dudes are not incredible and Panther Hall of Famers, okay? And probably future Hall of Famers all themselves, right? Mm-hmm. But the only answer to this question is the only player to ever win an MVP and single-handedly bring a putrid offense to a Super Bowl, man. It's Cam Newton. It's absolutely 100% Cam Newton. A lot of people felt this way. I felt this way. And then, this has been a contentious topic in a way that was surprising because everyone's like, oh, well, Julius Peppers and Steve Smith and Luke, they're all retired. Cam's not retired.
Right.
But
right. Okay. We get all right. Those are all good things. But the tweet did not say any of that?
No.
It didn't say greatest. It didn't even say greatest career. And there's
Well,
an
I
argument that
sure-
Pep, because I wrote Pep, my comment.
Yeah,
Was
I was
Pep.
gonna say, I think that these people who are commenting differently and trying to give you the reason of, well, these three are retired. It's not necessarily saying that that's a stipulation that it had to be for the choice. It's why maybe just a preference into why they would choose that. Because honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I picked Julius Peppers out of that group too. Include Cam Newton in that group for sure. But I mean, they may just be given reason why they feel that way, and I guess it's a justifiable reason if you feel like that should be a parameter. But I agree with you. I don't think Cam Newton should have been off that list by any means.
Yeah, that's the part that's frustrating. But I'll also say this: there is no way in hell they're gonna actually be able to put him up on any social media right now.
Right. Imagine CK, if they would have put him as an option as the GOAT.
Cam Newton would have lit into them.
And no, what would have been the first comment if
you cut him?
If he was the GOAT, why'd you let him go? Right?
I was gonna say, imagine if he would have won the voting.
And how
he would have. He would have.
The guy we cut.
Would feel like Teddy feel. Like, let's also think about that. Teddy was picked over top of him. Does Teddy actually then have the ability to say, "Well, then I'm the greatest"?
I'm better than Julius Peppers.
But did you see how you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't? Because now this is an even bigger deal because the fact that they put this out. And, like, why even make this the discussion? Listen, the fact of the matter is this. If you agree or disagree, that's fine. You cannot have a conversation about who the greatest Carolina Panther of all time is without Cameron Jarrell Newton. And the fact that this is so...
No ifs, ands, or buts. No ifs, ands, or buts.
The fact that this is so fresh on our mind, the fact that it's still... I mean, we're still getting used to having to see videos of him training so that some other football team will pick him up. Like, the fact that Cam Newton isn't a Panther is still very weird to me. And I think it is to a lot of other people too. And it just feels like there is this underlying attempt to try and erase Cam Newton from this franchise in spite of what he has done for us the past 9 years in a row.
Let's address this comment in the chat room. Panthers Guide FSU 23. I didn't feel this way because I'm not a drama king or queen. The players mentioned were retired, and they don't need to be mentioned. Got to be retired, he says. And then he went on and said, for all y'all people that want to be critical about every single word, I guess they need 100% specific for your feelings. Here's where I disagree with this. Panthers Guide FSU 23 is, and Cody's right, is that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in this conversation. And what that really means is this is lazy ass fucking social media by the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
It's lazy. This is a lazy thing. It's like, what's trending today? Let's get in on this. And let's go ahead and note this, Cody, is that this, you said this is something that's going down on the internet where you can like, retweet, or comment. We also had this for the last 4 years in like or retweet. The new thing is the comment, right? It's like, so we used to only get two options, and then everybody would respond to the fucking tweet. Now they do this. I was talking to one buddy. He said this would have been better served on Facebook with all those emojis where you could have put 30 players up there. But the point is for me, this is lazy. Is that I don't think we're being sensitive. Panthers got FSU 23. And I do understand what you're saying. Is like my first instinct was like, why isn't Cam up here? I had three choices. I put Pep. But when you're thinking about the context of the tweet, like Cody said, in the temporal aspect of it, that this is so fresh, overall, I'm calling out Panthers media, which a lot of people believe is one of the top media groups for professional sports, as this was lazy, retread, easy shit, and it backfired for being a bitch.
And they have been one of the best Twitter follows in all of the NFL. And they do post funny shit from time to time that, the nail on the head. But yeah, man, this was so, it was 100% avoidable. And you can't get mad at people like me getting mad that Cam Newton's not a part of that list. Like, that's what Tony's saying. If it was on them to either put out a different kind of tweet that wouldn't have given them that kind of backlash. But
they shouldn't have even got in on this stupid 3-option shit.
Yeah,
at this point,
but they could have done a different type of. They could have said,
"Who's the greatest defensive back?" Maybe we're talking about a team that has sucked for 2 years. Why are we talking about GOATs right now?
Well, I just want to ask the FSU God 23. Is he kind of implying that by us not understanding that it meant retired player, that we were supposed to assume that it meant retired players?
I think he's saying that you just got to go with it. And I mean, I get what he's saying. It's like, let's not get all upset about a tweet. Like, just go with it. You got 3 options. You pick it.
Okay, I get that. I understand that. Okay.
I think people are also blowing Cody's part of things out of proportion, too. Cody is just voicing his opinion about the situation. He's not saying that that's not logical for them to, that it's all retired players, but he's just saying, number one, I'm frustrated Cam's not a Panther. Mm-hmm. Number two, he is clearly the greatest of all time. And the fact that they're not going to acknowledge him at all. If you look at their Twitter feed, Cam Newton's not mentioned, and they can't mention him at this point. They just can't do it.
And by the way,
what was your tweet, Cody?
How about this simple fix? How about who's the greatest retired Panther? Boom! And then it's done. We're not even having this conversation anymore. But the fact that they put GOAT, and listen, this is a whole argument in and of itself. But, I mean, listen, I said this, and I'll say it again. I'll say it on this show. I don't care if it's Julius Peppers. I don't care if it's the great Steve Smith. I don't care if it's the incredible Luke Kuechly. None of them, if you total and tally their efforts, not to diminish them, but if you total and tally their efforts, they don't equal up to what Cam Newton did and how he put the Panthers on the map in a way that no other player has ever done before. That
Can I comment? I want to comment on that.
Yeah.
So I think, like when you said the wording is kind of important a little bit, is that first let's just go ahead and say this: these stupid conversations of GOAT, it's all lazy, right? When you say the GOAT, I'm so tired of hearing the GOAT. No, you know what I mean? Like, it was cool. The fact that my old ass is tired of this statement should tell somebody something. But, I'm the one that should be like, oh, I finally understand what that means now. No, I'm tired of hearing these dumbass conversations in a way. Then they're 10 years ago. The second thing is that if you do want to be more precise with the wording, I think Cody's right 100%, unless you said something to the effect of greatest career as a period, right? Because then there's an argument. You could say, all right, is that Julius Peppers is one of the greatest defensive ends in the history of football, but he's played for 2 other teams. So is he the great? Then we can get into these nuances. Is he the greatest Panther? And that's why I put Pep, is that I don't think he's the great. I would actually say, if we were only talking about their career only out of those 3 people, I think it's Steve Smith, honestly. And while Pep's career was great in Carolina, it was only half of his career. And Luke, we would say, was phenomenal, but his career was so much shorter compared to those people. So then you get into this crap about whether, then we can have a real a sort of conversation. But I think you're right when you just talk about what one individual player has done for the team in their tenure. I think Cam blows it out of the water. And this is all just lazy. Yeah. Because and it also shows you how thin we are with discussions. I'm very disappointed in the Panthers media for not realizing that they should have just bowed out of this discussion at this moment. They should have never put this tweet up. They should have gone a different way. I know it's trending and all this shit on Twitter or whatever, but you should have been aware enough to say, nah, come on. That's why they need to hire us, guys. That is why they need fans. We would have been like, what? I mean, all right, we get it, folks. I turned on Twitter. Everybody's doing this. But do you not realize we just cut the all-time favorite player of everybody?
Well,
and he's not on the fucking picture? Fuck you.
Can I say though?
That what was your exact words, by the way?
Yeah, and then I'll let Greg down to say everything in their mouths. My original tweet was, I hate how the Panthers fucking refuse to even acknowledge Cam Newton's existence anymore. Honestly, fuck you. I was in my emotions. I was hurt.
I love
it. I felt it. And I let the rage out, man, to almost 2,000 likes.
How many? What were the stats of the tweet? Because this is the greatest tweets in the history of the C3 Panthers podcast.
Okay, so when you click view tweet activity, the total number of impressions was 363,402 total impressions.
You're fucking boss, bro.
Nice.
Dude, and just on an accident on a Wednesday afternoon, man.
Weren't even trying to get that much attention.
But that's man, dude, it's not about likes and shit. That's how I felt, man. And the fact that it was liked that many times lets me know that I'm not alone. People are like, yeah, you're not going to erase Cam Newton and everything that he's done for this football team.
Yeah. Well, can I say, though, with the thing we're talking about with Cam Newton, and I don't disagree with you about how great he is, and you're definitely not wrong for feeling like he's the best, but it's kind of a naked stat because it's not a fair competition, really. Like, it depends on what you're looking at as far as best. Are you looking at longevity? Are you looking at where they finished all time in their position? Because if you're just looking at the most they did for their team, like you're saying, Cam Newton had the ball in his hands every play. It's easy to do more for the team when you have the ball in your hands every play. And I'm like I said, I'm not telling you you're wrong, but I always try to look at everything from every side, and that's not really a fair comparison. To put somebody that gets an
that's why it's lazy,
every
Greg.
Single play.
That's why it's lazy.
That's why. But hey, life isn't fair though. If you're gonna have your hands touch the ball on every play, then yeah, by de facto that means you're more important than a defensive end, a wide receiver, and a middle linebacker. Now,
what if they would have put Jordan Gross up there? What if they would have put Jordan Gross? Well, we have been like this. Imagine this. Imagine if they would have put Jordan Gross instead of Luke Kuechly. What would y'all have said?
I mean,
there was a ball there. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
you would be like. I mean, it would be like it's the same. It's a similar outcry, but it's not the same because Cam Newton is fresh. And he is. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, and I do, and go ahead, Greg, I want you to think about this as you continue your comment, is, it is about all these, and that's why I say it's lazy. But imagine if Bo Jackson would have been a Panther. He might have a limited career, but we might have said he's the greatest. Like, we saw it. But continue. Sorry.
Well, look good. Well,
I was going to say, I think Cody, Mike Villa here in chat has said what I think that what I appreciate most about Cody, in this whole interaction, is he said Cody went through the fire of trolls on Twitter and still stuck by his word. Mm-hmm. I have so much respect for the dude. So
shout out, Mike.
I think Cody is you're gonna have people that, honestly, if I'm being quite honest, the people that wanted to sit there and argue and have a conversation that was based on, name calling and stuff like that are the people that just never liked Cam Newton from the get-go, period. Like, just didn't. Right. So they weren't going to like Cody either way. But what Cody has done is he has kind of, honestly, I think he brought more attention on C3, kind of getting people involved with that conversation, because I think more people
he was like battling, bro. I checked my DMs. And I know he didn't see. He sent us he was saying he said something just like, "Man, this tweet went somewhere," and I opened it up. I opened the shit up, and Muggs were talking, and Cody was talking about pulling his dick out, and people like that. And I was like, "Oh man, young Muggs,
dude, they were coming at your boy, bro.
Dude, you were going at get him, bro. Get them Muggs." And
Mike was reading those, and I'm like, Cody is just destroying folks right now.
Wouldn't.
Yes, they're idiots, man.
I love how Mike's right. You didn't back down an inch, dude, and good for you to stick by that conviction of like, this is just stupid. The Panthers need to take an ice up for this one.
They really didn't take an ice up. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was just going to say, Joey brings up a good point in the chat room. He said, to his knowledge, there was a segment of fans that didn't like Cam. There was never a segment of fans that really didn't like Luke. So, I mean, I'm just saying, when you look at this, it's all in how you look at it.
Who didn't like Luke? I want to meet that person.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's nobody that didn't like Luke. That's what I'm saying. For me, it all depends on how you look at it. Like, I'm looking at it with this. I'm looking at, where did you finish all time in your position? And how did I feel watching you as a Panther? And all four of those players we have there are phenomenal. But I'm looking at Julius Peppers finishing with like 4th all time at his position. Steve Smith was top 10 in receiving yards.
And Cam's career's not over.
It's not over, but he probably won't finish top 10 in any stat.
But I would argue this is that in his time, just if you looked at a 9-year period, right? A 9-year period for what he did for the Panthers, what Steve Smith did in a 9-year period, what Luke Kuechly did in a 9-year period, what Julius Peppers did. Julius Peppers, and I love all those players.
Right.
I think Cody's right. It's really hard. Like it's gonna be me who's like, well, Julius Peppers turned around a franchise that had 2 and 4. It's just somebody that loved Julius Peppers so much. Maybe Steve Smith, because Steve Smith was our first kind of star. I don't know. Steve Smith did have a triple, what do they call it? Triple crown, where you get most touchdowns, most yards, most receptions. He did have like one of the best seasons in the history of a wide receiver. So good for him on that. And so I think if we really were going to try to argue who was the greatest Panther, it probably would be between those two.
I mean,
Steve Smith and Cam Newton, right? I mean, Luke Kuechly was a great Panther, but 2012 to 2019, he was maybe. I don't know.
I think top 3 in his position every year he played.
Yeah,
he was.
And so, one, to go something against what Greg said, when you said Cam might not finish top 10 all time in anything, I guarantee you, rushing touchdowns are going to be up there.
Because he's top 1 right now.
Now, but what if he doesn't play anymore?
Well,
he's still top 1. He already beat Steve Young.
But we're still talking about a 31-year-old player. So again, his future is left to be written. And who's to say that there isn't some other team that is going to do what we failed to do and actually build around him? I mean, if he ends up in a scenario like that, good for him. I don't know if it will.
Stop. We're all worried that Cam.
Yeah, that it happens,
done.
And then
I'm actually worried that it's not gonna. Like, I want to see Cam on a football field, bro. Like, that's what I want to see. Is I believe that it could happen, Cody, but we're all secretly scared that we've seen the best of Cam Newton.
I mean, maybe it's a fear though. But
yes, it's a fear. That's a good way.
I heard that fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real.
Okay.
So there's some fear, but it's just we're looking at the past few seasons, and saying, oh well, he's been hurt. We have not seen the best of Cam Newton.
He looks good in all those videos, don't he?
Yeah, and
I want to have. I'm gay for Cam. I'll be looking at the videos.
I know, man.
He's looked good in the warm-up videos for the last couple of years, though.
Thick snack. That's true.
I want to make kids.
Call him a thick snack.
Cam's out here looking like a bowl of oatmeal, baby.
The next podcast is gonna be like, I want to make the name of it is I want to make kids with Cam.
7 more.
Cam. It was Cam. But I just think it was again lazy.
And by the way, and to add to your point on how it was stupid and lazy on behalf of the Panthers Twitter team, now you're pitting parts of your fandom against each other
in the worst possible time. The worst possible time to have fans be jaded. I mean, I hate
we should be celebrating Luke, Smitty, Pep, Cam. Like, these are players that have defined what it is to be a fan of the Carolina Panther.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not trying to tear anyone down. Me saying it's Cam Newton and then everyone else, I'm not trying to tear down Luke and Pep and Steve. I love those dudes. But the fact that the question was so dumb, so done at the wrong time, it was just like almost done in bad taste, in my opinion.
A lot of
people were pissed off.
A lot of people were highlighting how Steve Smith liked to punch his teammates in the face in the tavern. So is that like, was he the greatest team face puncher in the world? Yes,
sure,
possibly. Yeah.
I get so irritated, Cody, when we just retread stuff, and that's how. And I know it's popular on the internet. And particularly like Facebook and Twitter, but it's not innovative to me, and that's why I was off put from the beginning when people said, "Well, where's Cam?" Is because it was a dumb tweet in the first place. Now let's go on to our next topic, which is Curtis Samuel a bust? This discussion popped off on WFNZ today when the antagonist of one of the shows, Preppy, said that Curtis Samuel is a bust. And then that cued a discussion on the internet and on this radio show that Curtis Samuel is the best receiver in the world. Is he the best receiver in the world or a bust is my question to you.
That's what no one has said that Curtis Samuel is the best.
I heard he's the best conceptual receiver in the history of football.
I mean, he might be, dude. He might be, dude. He's been in such a bad situation that even if he was, you wouldn't know it, bro. You wouldn't know. And by the way, let's add this fuel to the fire. Curtis Samuel, critical to Panthers' success, says offensive coordinator Joe Brady.
And
wow.
And don't you always say that these coordinators don't want to give away their game plan? So do you think that if he's saying that out loud,
they're going to trade his ass?
I mean, we're always saying, well, they're not going to show their hand before the season. Why would you say he's our biggest weapon and we use
trade
to our offense working?
But
which hasn't been for the last 3 years. But
we're going to really retool this offense when we trade Curtis.
No, bro, dude. That's like saying, oh, if we have Tyreek Hill or, if we have Odell Beckham Jr., yeah, we're going to incorporate them as a part of our game plan. It's almost
but no, you can't compare Curtis Samuel to Tyreek Hill or Odell Beckham Jr. He's not on that level.
You can in theoretical land where he had a great quarterback and he had.
They have that, dude. Curtis Samuel is about to show everyone. Dude, if Bridgewater can at least be consistent, everyone's going to see how much of a threat Curtis Samuel is and how underutilized he's been here in Carolina.
I can't wait till Curtis Samuel has 340 yards and people are going to be like, if Teddy Bridgewater could throw the fucking deep ball, Curtis Samuel would be the next Randy Moss. No, I want Curtis Samuel to be great, and I am obviously personally jaded because I invested a lot in him in fantasy football last year. Like, I picked him a whole round ahead of where he should have gone, and I was like, I got the diamond.
To also put it into perspective, he was the MVP of training camp.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We were all hot and heavy on it, and then...
Oh, yeah, he was making some highlight plays. It was an incredible, training camp. Like, our training camp was great because we got to see everything flowing the way that it should. And then the moment, which we all realize happens with every team.
Cam Newton's foot got hurt. Fucking
they started playing football games. And
God,
foot. Oh, sorry. I want to bring up something in the chat. Shane Wells is talking about, I think he's talking about Curtis Samuel. He says best in the world when Curtis had a good quarterback throwing the ball. Well, how can you say he's the best in the world when he hasn't put up the stats to do it, and two, he's worked with the quarterbacks. He said I've seen Steve Smith have one of the best years ever as a wide receiver with Jake Delhomme throwing the ball.
I think when
I mean,
I think
But
when
Jake
Shane
was
said
way
that's
better
wrong.
than Jake had a 3 or
Yeah, but I
4 year
think
moment
Shane-
where it was magic.
Shane was talking about Steve Smith with that quote. I think.
okay, gotcha.
And
Just
then
making
the
sure.
next
I was like,
one-
I don't understand that. Okay, gotcha. I
And-
was confused. I'm sorry. Yeah.
And I do believe this when it came to Steve Smith, guys, is that I continuously said this, is that in 2008-9, we should have traded him to the Colts. Like, if he would have played with Peyton Manning, you know what I'm saying? Steve Smith would have been arguably the greatest receiver in his, is that
They would have had Edgerrin James then too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was so dope with Carolina in a mediocre environment. And that also shows you as soon as Cam came to the house, is all of a sudden a guy that was irrelevant for 3 years, all of a sudden was a premier wide receiver again. So kind of and we said, what did we say this? Didn't we say this? Who was another player? We said this, was it like it's just a shame to see these guys languish on a great roster. I mean, not on a terrible team. Yeah, exactly. Is that what would they be if they were in New England or something to this effect? That's how I felt with Steve Smith. But guys, really, Curtis Samuel, look, he has one of the coolest stats is like his touches to touchdown ratio. He has to be it's like he gets a touchdown for every 5 touches he gets.
By the way, if you would go on YouTube and just look up Curtis Samuel highlights and watch the plays that he does make when someone manages to get him the ball, like the dude can make a whole defensive backfield miss. Like, he has crazy, insane talent. It's not his fault that Kyle Allen was the one throwing him the football last year.
It is.
Go
ahead, Greg.
I'll say I can go on YouTube and look up any player in the NFL's highlights, and it'll be a good-looking tape.
That is true.
Just saying, it's all their best plays put together. I mean, any player you look at the highlights.
Cody, the problem I have with that statement is this, and it might not be a Curtis Samuel criticism, is if he's so good, we made sure Christian McCaffrey was involved, right? It's like Christian McCaffrey didn't have a terrible season with that team. So if you guys are right about Curtis Samuel, which I think there's a good, I think there's legitimacy to a lot of your points. So I just like being an asshole about it at this point. But
Dude,
it's on the coaching staff as well.
Yes. And by the way, this is one of our biggest complaints of Rivera, was it not? There was like 2 whole years where he just wouldn't use Samuel.
Right.
So and remember, he had the heart issue. Then he had an issue where Ron Rivera wasn't playing him as much. Then in that third year, Cam Newton's foot goes to shit. So again, it's like, I'm not saying that the guy has the numbers to be able to compare him to Tyreek Hill. What I am saying, though, is that I guarantee you that if Curtis Samuel had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, you would think a little differently about who Curtis Samuel is when you see the precision of the routes that he runs and how fast he is. He's meant to take the top off of a defense. If you're not able to utilize him that way, then
no, I don't. I think I don't like that argument, Cody, because I don't think that's only what he's good at. Is that something that he could excel at? But he's shifty. He is a wide receiver version of Christian McCaffrey. So why can't you use him in more underneath stuff? I think that the idea that this is what he does best and that's where I think the coaching staff failed. He's a playmaker. Right. You put the ball in his hands and good shit happens. The chat room is on fire tonight, and obviously these cats know what's up when it comes to highlight videos. Shane Welch says, look up Jimmy Clausen highlights. It won't look too good. And
that's joking because he sucked in real life. Yes. I guarantee if you type in Jimmy Clausen highlights, it'll show great plays of him.
Trill1 says I think this is smart right here. He says the way you judge a highlight video is by how long it is.
That's a good point. Yeah.
If it's a 20-minute highlight video, you're like, this mug was good. If it's a
Very good
2-minute, you're like, wait a second.
I like them mugs long.
And back to what you were saying there, Tony, is you're right. I mean, not Cody, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think Curtis Samuel is a good receiver, and he has the potential to be the best, or to be very, not to say the best, to be very, very good. Really great player.
You mean the GOAT? Sorry.
No, but he has the position. He has I guess the potential to be the number one wide receiver on the team.
We're very,
But here's
very
the
good.
thing. Why didn't he last year then? He had the same guy throwing to him as DJ Moore, and DJ Moore finished like 12th or 13th in the league in yards.
Because DJ Moore is a short slant route type of receiver, and a lot of DJ Moore's yards was why we drafted him to begin with, was after the catch.
Well, and also,
Well, that's what you want of a receiver is yards.
well,
I
Also,
think Curtis can be a lot of that, but I think CK's right. Is that he's got the body for it? It was a shame. It was not just Kyle Allen. It was also the coaching staff.
But also, remember that from an offensive perspective, certain plays are designed for specific players and on specific plays. So, that's why you hear your number one option. Normally, your wide receiver is your number one option. We drafted DJ Moore to be that, and in our offensive system and scheme, it was designed to get him the ball. I mean, really, in my mind, see, and this is like what's weird, because I think DJ and Curtis, I think Curtis is a better route runner, but I think DJ is a lot more physical. But honestly, they're very comparable because, I mean, they're going to do a lot of the same things. You just have to utilize that talent. But, I mean, I think that DJ Moore had inflated numbers like hell because they were getting him the ball so much. Like, they were essentially force-feeding him the ball every time that they would throw it.
Well, because we had a one-look quarterback at that point. But you're going to have more opportunities if you're the number one and your quarterback is throwing you the football, no matter who's around you. He's just force-feeding it to you if it isn't Christian.
Yeah, but that's Michael Thomas, and he won Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, that's exactly what it was with him. Just if you're getting 23, balls thrown your way a game, of course you're gonna get 17 passes and 130 yards a game.
Right. So then,
we praise him for it.
Well, this is where we get upset, Cody.
What do you say to Michael Thomas that maybe his numbers are a little bit inflated?
Yes,
right?
and people say that all the time.
I'm sorry, the general public praise him for it. So you don't praise him for it.
And people do say that all the time. That it's just the problem is that we want Curtis Samuel. I'm at the point is that when we drafted him, I thought he was like the gym. Like I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy. And I've been that way the whole time. And I was that way last year. I've been that way. And at this point, I'm just like, man, gosh, it's like I really just want it to be real. I want to give a big, giant shout out to Panther Nasty in the house, the OG of the C3 Panthers podcast. My man, Willie P, thank you for hanging out. And I was just thinking about this, Panther Nasty would be able to tell me, Panther Nasty was my second follow on Twitter. Number 2.
Nice.
And this was a journey that started 8 years ago. We're over 6,500 followers now. I remember him. Number 2, Panther Nasty. Who was number 1? Was it Steve? Help me with his last name. Steve. You know him. We've been talking for 8 years. Great Panther fans in the house. Panther Nasty says DJ Moore is still better, and he likes this wide receiver core with a lot of speed. Guys, the offense, Joe Brady says that Curtis Samuel is going to be a big part of it. What is this offense going to do? We make the addition of Robbie Anderson. Fast. Nobody's big, though. DJ Moore is our biggest receiver. I put this out at one point. I think it was, I don't know if it was on Twitter or if I was on Pirate Radio up here, and I said, we don't have any size at wide receiver.
Yeah.
And this guy said, what about Witherspoon? I was like, who the fuck is that, bro? It was a Temple dude.
Well, I was going to say that I think this is actually going to give us an idea of how accurate Teddy Bridgewater really is. I mean, they say that he protects the ball. He doesn't make stupid decisions. Well, if you have a smaller receiver, you've got to make sure those balls are on point or they're wide open. One of the two. So I think he's had the benefit of having a Michael Thomas, a burner, down the field with Ted Ginn. I don't know about those other receivers that he had over there in New Orleans, but I know that they have a few big bodies and a few of the speedsters. So I think I'm hopeful that he comes in and he's able to do some stuff. But I think that I would like to highlight the optimistic, the most optimistic comment that we've seen all night. David Warren says Moore, CMC, Anderson, and Curtis Samuel is a real offensive coordinator's dream. Which I can't disagree with at all. I am fully on board with that statement.
That's been the conundrum of this team, right?
Well, can I read the full quote from our offensive coordinator?
Yeah,
so Joe Brady says, Curtis is going to be critical to our success. I stated I wish I could have had an opportunity to be out at practices and whatnot, and Curtis is the one I can't wait to see him do what he does best. I think Curtis is a playmaker. He fits the mold of what we're looking for in this type of offense, a guy that you can utilize all around the field. You get the ball in his hands and good things happen. I think you saw stuff last year. Wow, really, cat? My cat. It's my cat, ladies and gentlemen. You get the ball in his hands.
It's your what? Oh, your cat.
Yeah, this is my too, ladies and gentlemen.
Get off of that desk, cat.
Dude, I'm doing a show. What an asshole. And look at him just sitting there chilling.
All right, so that also sounds like coach speak, though.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. Sounds a lot like coach speak.
I mean, it also sounds like what Matt Rule said about Cam.
Mm-hmm.
That's where when we start talking about it, my first reaction was there's no way that means that Curtis Samuel's not a big part of this team. But then we realized that Matt Rule did say, I'm excited to coach Cam Newton next year.
Mm-hmm.
So we forget very quickly that was a statement that he made. And that was during Super Bowl weekend. And it was, that part wasn't, I don't think. That was during the scouting combine. But, and Cam Newton during Super Bowl media week was like, oh, I'm definitely coming back. I had a conversation with those guys, which leads me to believe, I'm still on the Matt Rule train, but it leads me to believe that conversation was way more hyped than it, as far as those guys were making Cam Newton believe something that wasn't true. There had to have been a conversation like, oh man, we're excited to work with you, all of this stuff, and then in the back of their minds, they knew that they were going to be going in a different direction.
Trill One says Anderson is 6'3". Wow.
Yeah, talking about Robbie Anderson, because I said I thought he was decently, or not tall, like really tall, but 6'3" is pretty good.
It's not bad.
He had a little bit of height to
it's
him,
not bad. I want to ask you guys this as we think about the potential of Curtis Samuel. We think about DJ Moore. We went out and got Robbie Anderson, though. We went and got somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, you got Christian McCaffrey. How many times do you see three receivers eat in a system?
I'll keep talking.
You know what I'm saying? Is that's another concern I have here. Is adding Robbie Anderson in this to make sure that, hey, we just can't go into a season with DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel. That would be irresponsible. But what if all three are healthy, everything is working? Can all three eat in the season? And how do you make that happen, Cody?
Can I tell you what this may also mean? It may mean, I know we have Pharaoh Cooper to be able to do kick returns and whatnot, but I feel like this is going to be more of an opportunity for Curtis Samuel to do return duties as well.
Pharaoh Cooper was a Pro Bowler. I got in trouble for not acting like Pharaoh Cooper was good. I was on the radio and somebody got after me, but it turns out that he was
a good returner.
He's a good returner. Yeah, arguably that's where we should be excited about this homie right now.
When's the last time we've had a good returner?
We haven't since Ted Ginn in the first stint.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
what about
The
honestly,
first stint.
Steve Smith before that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say Steve Smith as well.
It's been a Achilles heel, and in fact, it was Achilles heel for the Rivera administration.
Yeah.
The entire time is that was really, for all the people that had to like take in, was awesome. The best thing he did for us in 2014, 2013 was he was consistent and dynamic in the return game, and then he was awesome as he was very good as a receiver. But you remember those years that we were trying to put Philly Brown back there, we put Brenton Burst in there. I was at a training camp one year where Ben Wickery was the guy fielding punts.
Yeah. So here's I think that this is a really, really good statement because I think Cody probably will recognize this better. Shane Welch said Brady spreads the ball around at LSU, everybody eats. Which is honestly, if you watch that game, it was pretty true. Everybody got the ball. Like it was pretty.
Well,
consistent.
Cam was dishing the ball a lot in his good years in 27. He would have we would hear all these stats about 10 10 different people having catches. But I'm just asking is how do you have is Robbie Anderson going to be the guy that puts up the numbers this year? Do we go and pay him to just have a 600-yard season? I'm just interested in how a third receiver is the guy that's getting fed a lot.
It is a lot of mouths to feed, especially when you consider we have Christian McCaffrey that is going to account for a certain number of touches and carries and passes. And Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore. I mean, there's a lot of mouths to feed. We have no excuse to not be a good offense. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater should at least be able to get us in rhythm. It's going to depend on that offensive line. I've been saying that. I'll continue to say that. In my mind, that is a huge red flag. But our receiving core right now, I would say, is the best that it's been in 10 years or more as a whole. Yeah, sure, I'd say that.
In theory. Now, okay, so all this talking about this receiver talk, I actually want to go ahead and break up one of my prop bets for this week. Because I know we were talking about making prop bets. I don't know if y'all did, but I'll throw one out there, see if y'all are interested in it. I'm willing to bet that Robbie Anderson has more. I can't decide if I want to say receiving yards or touchdowns than Curtis Samuel. But I know one of y'all's going to take me on this. So I'm going to say receiving yards. I'm going to say Robbie Anderson has more receiving yards than Curtis Samuel. Since Curtis Samuel is going to be a vital part of the offense, he should get a lot of touches and a lot of receiving
I'm with
yards,
Greg.
So.
I'm betting on Anderson. I'm with you, Greg, on this.
Anybody taking it? Cody, you taking it?
To have more receiving yards than Curtis Samuel.
Who has the more? You got to just bet against him. If Curtis Samuel has more, then you're betting against him.
Yeah, sure. I'll take that bet.
Okay. Cody's got that. CK, you in?
So it's that. Just to clarify, it is Curtis Samuel is going to have fewer yards than Anderson, right?
Yes, that's what I'm proposing.
Well, that's what he's
Curtis
betting.
Samuel,
If you take the bet, you got to believe Curtis Samuel will have more odds, more yards.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
And I'm glad you didn't say touchdowns. And thinking about our conversation about all these people going to eat and get fed, if anybody's okay with only getting a couple of touches, it's Curtis Samuel. He'd be like, I'm going to get 5 touchdowns on those 10 touches.
That's true.
I think, man, that's such a tough one because I think that I don't think that one's going to, be that much. It's not going to be a crazy big difference because it is going to have to spread around. We have Curtis Samuel. We have Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is going to take a big load of those receptions as well. So I'm going to call it. I think Curtis Samuel has a better year than Robbie Anderson.
Wow.
Okay, cool.
Like it.
Okay, so I got CK. That's the first one 2 people have taken me on. So actually, no, I think Tony, didn't you take the bet with the? You sided with me.
I'm with you.
Jadeveon Clowney having more sacks than Curtis Samuel has touchdowns. I remember that bet.
Oh yeah.
You sided with me on that one. Okay.
You got another one for us?
I have another one propped up. We'll do it in a minute, but I want to go. I can go ahead and throw my other one out there.
All right, let's see what you got.
Panthers have 2 Pro Bowl players this year. Not 3, not 1. They have 2 Pro Bowl players this year. It's got to hit right on the money.
I think it's going to be over.
Okay, so you'll take me on that then?
I'll take 3 at least.
Okay.
Who are the 2?
Curtis Samuel.
Christian McCaffrey. It's going to be Christian
Yeah,
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, I think. And I think I'm thinking maybe Brian Burns.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to have somebody on defense who eats. And Pharaoh Cooper.
Pharaoh Cooper.
I like the three.
Curtis Samuel. Three people. Curtis Samuel, Pharaoh Cooper, and let's pick another one.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, Curtis Samuel, or Christian McCaffrey, Brian Burns. I don't know if it's going to be Brian Burns or not. I think it might be.
And who's Christian McCaffrey's backup? Bonifan? Be like, Bonifan? Yeah. Those are your three people.
Oh, man. Or maybe one of our offensive linemen. You know? Maybe one of our offensive line just happens to just ball out this year.
I never tell them.
You never know.
I am going to take the under, so I am not taking that. I do not think we're going. Okay, I don't think we're going to have two.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under too because I don't think we have the name recognition.
Gotcha.
I think certain players get elected to the Pro Bowl because you know their name. Probably and I would argue that Gerald McCoy might be one of these people.
Well, we don't have him on the team anymore.
I know, but I know he's not on our team anymore. But one of these people who their name just is like, who do you know at offensive lineman? You're just like, all right, well, I'm gonna pick Trey Turner every year.
It's like a fullback.
Yeah,
you're not gonna. The fullback is not, or even offensive lineman for that matter.
Right.
You're only really basing it off of what people say they're good about, or the names that you recognize.
All right. You got any more? Or is that
No, those are the only two I got for tonight. And then I got the two that we did before, so we're good. I got 4 right now. I'll probably do a few more for you.
Are we throwing money down on this? Because, my base.
Yeah, I'll cover it. The C3 podcast will cover it. We'll pay you, Greg. I'm your book. I'm your bookie backer. Except for the bets against me. No, the bets against me, we're collecting. But I will back these other bets. Just keep you keep the book. You keep the number. We'll pay it out. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the cat calls. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's see what you guys got to say.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person
very, very low.
feel?
I can barely hear it.
Feels good.
You can't hear it?
No.
Yeah, no.
Oh. Hold on.
Sounds like playing on the phone in the background.
In a world.
Wait. I know why. I'm playing in the wrong damn program. I'm sitting here playing it in Audacity. Sorry, folks. I've got to play it in a different program. Let's see if you can.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person
very, very
feel?
loud.
It feels good like
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his notebook? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hi guys, it's Rich in the UK, still alive. Hope you're all doing well. I only just listened to last week's podcast, so I thought I'd phone in because it was fresh. It's about Matt Rule and what you're looking for the team this year. And I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. I think what we're looking at is, can this coaching staff take players that they believe could be good and have not yet either proven it or been given a clean chance, and make them better? There's a certain air with Matt Rule about thinking that he knows what he wants. I mean, we've got loads of Baylor guys, loads of Temple guys. And I think I mentioned to you before, my fear is, with a coach like Matt Rule, who's achieved at college, does he know what a good NFL player is? He was very, very quick to give Robbie Anderson $10 million. Robbie Anderson's good, but, is he going to be proven in a system that he was better than Curtis Samuel? Would we have been better off to stick with Jarius Wright as the third down guy? I don't know. But this season, that's what I'm looking for. So it's defensive end, Stephen Witherly, who I did a little bit of reading about him. I think he's going to start. I think him and Brian Burns will start on the ends. I don't think it will be Yetur Gross-Matos just yet.
I agree with that.
I think he'll develop as a rookie. But Weatherly is everything that you want. And he was third, but he was behind Daniil Hunter and Everson Griffin. And that's the sort of player that, Matt Rule has brought him in. He's identified him. He's identified Justin Burris as well for the safety. These are guys that they're saying, we can coach these guys and we can turn us into a good team look what we can do. We're good. And potentially that other people weren't as good as us. Now, I think from this year, if you get, if Weatherly's an 8-sack guy with Brian Burns on the other side is a 10-sack, if they're getting pressure, good against the run, and Burris Burris gets to play a lot, and we're like, wow, these guys are all right. Then not only will it restore some faith in Raw, who at the moment is just a lying toe rag, but also it will be amazingly powerful going forward, because what it means is that the Panthers can hoover up vets and people on, third and fourth year that didn't really get a go, and turn them into, maybe above average players. And that would be incredible if we see that this year. If they can't do it, and we're bad, then it will have to be a rethink. And I think that's where we're going to be in trouble. If all these guys that they've brought in, the guys on the O-line, Weatherly, Burris, bust, then we could have a problem. Anyway, guys, take care. Love the show as ever, and keep pounding.
What a call. I'm going to hit him with this.
Yep.
So, good news, people. If we can hit you with the Barack Obama. What a call right there. Referencing our discussion last week about the red flags that could potentially come about, or, the things the measurements we're going to be looking at. I like this. Let's focus in on, or for me, and the thing that stands out to that call is I would be cautious to believe that Gross-Matos is going to be this big giant factor this year. I'm excited about it. I think that he looks like an NFL player that's going to turn out and be good and all of this. But I think he might be right. Maybe it's Weatherly, it's Burns, it's a fast 3-4 defense from the edge. I like that a little bit. I would just be cautious about believing that every rookie pick is going to be a monster this year. Derek Brown, I think, starting. But is it really? Are you putting your money on that Gross-Matos and Jeremy Chin are like going to be Pro Bowlers?
No.
We can only have so many that turn out. I like that prediction. Weatherly, Brian Burns, add Brown in the Derek Brown in the middle.
I think I'm more excited about the prospect of Stephen Weatherly. Honestly, I think that if you look at his film from in Minnesota, yes, he was playing behind two incredible players, but I mean, even when he was on the field, he made the most of his opportunities. Similar to Brian Burns. If you look at Brian Burns' production, he's got insane numbers when you talk about pressures. Like
they're like all Curtis Samuels.
Yeah. And so if we can actually get the coaching staff to let them be on the team or on the actual field more, then maybe we got an opportunity for really great things to happen. So I'm confident, or let me rephrase, I'm optimistic that Stephen Weatherly is actually one of the most exciting pickups we've got this offseason, including our draft picks.
I mean, I think so. So listen, I kind of want to touch on what Rich was talking about is when it concerns Matt Rule. And, I'm kind of the mindset that he might not be good at any of those things just yet. Identifying what kind of players are, you're
what if he's wrong?
Need to go through a stretch of the season. I mean, there's a ton of things that I'm just assuming that Matt Rule is going to have to learn about being not only the head coach in the NFL, but knowing how to manage your roster, knowing how Weatherly is going to, he's on a 1-year contract. How do you weigh? You have a veteran like Weatherly who you signed to be able to come in spots where you need a veteran, but you also want to do not what Ron Rivera did and take someone like Brian Burns and barely play him and limit and develop his growth as a football player, especially when you know that you're going to have to bank on these guys long term. So I
don't know if I would say that as much about Weatherly. Who is Weatherly? Who is the comparison of Weatherly in the past to a player? I feel like I should know exactly.
Jared, I mean, a less
no, don't say he. No. This guy has never started. He's only 20. He's young. He's not old.
I'm talking from a role perspective. It's just a hand in the dirt. Veteran edge presence.
I feel like we've always been excited about a guy that's kind of like this, and then he doesn't do shit.
Remember Russell Shepard?
Yeah, that would be it. That would be it.
Yeah, he was never anyone, but he was the veteran that we needed. Well, my deal is this, man. If Gross-Matos Like I had him ranked as a first round talent. A lot of people did. We picked him up in the second round. That means that we got 2 first round caliber defensive linemen. I mean, I want to be able to play both of them. I want to see them in
But we
tough
can
scenarios.
in a 3-4, maybe we can. As Weatherly is going to be like a stand. Weatherly, by the way, is 26, bro. Oh,
Yeah,
I know who Weatherly reminds me of. Hold on, Weatherly reminds me of dude that's already on the the roster. Who is the guy we picked him in the 3rd round a couple years ago?
Christian Miller.
Nope,
Marquise Haynes?
at Marquise Haynes. Like that's where I find Weatherly at. Is I don't
Shane
see him as a
Wells.
veteran guy. Is I see him as a guy that we all have. Everybody's always been saying is about to blow up.
Yeah. Mario Addison says Shane Wells.
But
and I
he's
think that's a
26
comparison.
years old. He's young, dude. So if you're calling him the veteran,
Well, veteran from I mean,
Like
not
he's
a veteran,
played a
veteran, but
down
somebody
before.
yeah, he's played
think he
NFL
is.
football before. But I think Mario Addison's actually a good comparison because Mario Addison kind of bumped around, went undrafted, went to a few different teams, and kind of chipped in, and then became a good player for us later on. So
once he was developed, you know.
Yeah.
Can we talk about one thing that I don't think we touched base on? Is our defensive coordinator admitting there's going to be growing pains?
Yeah, there was a
Oh
long
yeah, I saw this. Tell us about this. I saw a little snippet. I didn't know how big of a statement it was.
I mean, it was enough to be on the NFL Network as a story, which right now is anything.
And is he wrong?
No, I don't think so. When you
Like
look
we
at the
had a
age
shit
of our
ass defense last year. Like that, like
we
we're all of
have
a
a
sudden gonna be
very
the
young
top
defense
5
this
this year would be ridiculous.
Who's our oldest player on our defense right now?
Trey Boston.
Maybe. I don't know.
Look that up.
That's a
I'm
good.
going to look that up.
Hey, I wanted to ask a quick question while you looked it up. You were talking about Weatherly, and you were saying he's a veteran. At least he's a guy who can fill a spot because at least he's played in the NFL. So what if
Not
he hadn't
barely.
played in the NFL?
Well, then
Like,
I would
if
say
he-
it would
if he
be
only played in
unrealistic
college.
to expect for him to be to be a contributor. Just
So
like
why
I
is
think
a player
Gross Matos, I don't expect Gross Matos to be a contributor this year. I
I'm
see
not
him
sure-
like
I'm
a
not sure
Christian
what
Miller.
you're asking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hadn't finished the question yet. The only reason I'm asking is because why do we look at a player like that but not a coach? Why is it a player's like, well, if he's played in the NFL, then he's good enough to be on the team, and we trust that he can do it. But if he hadn't played in the NFL, if he just come straight out of college, we wouldn't have that much faith. But with a coach, it's different. Like a coach is like, well, he was good in college, so he's going to be good in the pros.
Well, I don't think people
get why
have
we draw the
faith
line
in
there.
Rule yet either. I think we have
think
excitement
so.
about Rule.
I don't have
I
faith
think
in Rule.
there's
Well, okay,
enthusiasm
that's a good point. That's a
about
good
it.
point. Yeah.
Is that, but we continue
Well, I
to,
have faith. I
optimism,
mean,
exactly.
Maybe you don't have faith. I have faith in Rule. I mean, it's again, faith is believing without having evidence. So right now, I have no evidence that he's going to be a good NFL head coach. I have faith
Okay.
that he
That's a good
will.
point.
You know, I have faith that he will, but I don't know if he will. And listen, I see signs of both. I mean, that's why I'm not going. Panthers guy at FSU in our chat, shouts out to him. He thinks we're going to be a great football team this year. We're going to surprise people. And hey, maybe
Make
we
the
will.
Panthers
But
great again. Panthers got FSU.
That's what I'm saying. When it comes to the players and our coaches, it's almost like I don't expect a lot because I don't have to expect a lot. When you sign a coach to a 7-year deal, we're not asking him to win the Super Bowl next year. David Tepper essentially told him, yeah, go and learn on the job. Learn how to build this team, learn the ins and outs, and we're going to continue to build this thing.
I know, but we want him to be. We don't want it to be a 7-year process. We want him. We want to see signs next year that like he's like the next coming.
I don't think Matt Rule knows what he's doing right now, but I do have faith that he will, and that he knows that he will. So that's where I'm at with Rule.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do agree with that call with Rich in London. I think there's a lot of stuff he probably doesn't know. I think we're going to find that out the hard way. And, you know, he's going to have to
and
find
you
that
should
out.
expect that, right? We should expect all of that.
Yeah,
I
100%. think it'd be naive to assume he's going to come in and immediately, you know, bring us to a Super Bowl. But I think that it is fair to say that there is a lot of his style of coaching and what he does. I think there's a reason that he was so well touted. I mean, there's so many people that, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there were 2 NFL teams after him, and to your point, I mean, there's 2 rebuilds that he's done, but other than that, I mean, you have nothing to go off of. But he fits a mold that I think fits the NFL, and so I think that's why that I have faith. I have faith that he is going to come in here, and we have young guys. Keep in mind, we don't have an old roster; we have young guys.
We might have the young. I want to know if we have the youngest roster in the NFL at this point.
I'm kind of curious because it does feel that way.
Joey the Blind Panther gets it. He said we got to build that wall around our QB so we can make Carolina great again. He got my joke.
Yeah,
he got it. My man got it.
Our wall is going to be so good. Our wall is going to be so good once we build that wall that you're going to see defensive ends come into instead of bringing a baseball bat, they're bringing shovels so they can dig under the wall.
Our wall is going to rule.
Yeah, we're not even close in age. We're like middle of the pack. Like looks like actually not even middle of the pack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 7 teams underneath us.
How can any be? Who's the oldest player on the Panthers?
This is 2019 stats.
Oh yeah. Go to 2020. We have to be the youngest.
Okay.
I don't even know if we have a player over 30 on the team.
No, so yeah, the 2 oldest guys on our defense are K'Wan Short at 31 years old, and the second oldest is Tarir Whitehead at 30.
So
wow,
yeah.
How old is Trey Boston? Oh, look at that.
27.
Yeah,
wow.
I was gonna say he's real young, dude. I mean, you got to remember we didn't exercise his 5th-year option, and I mean he only played for 3 years for us before the first stint.
What Trey?
Yeah,
he played. Maybe 3, and then he went and played 1 in San Diego, 1 in Arizona, and then came back to maybe 1 whole year off. I'm starting to wonder if did he have a year off, or did he just sign it like the last day?
Yeah, he signed with us like in training camp last year.
Okay,
that's I think what we probably think this one.
Yeah, so he's younger than I would expect us to have maybe the youngest roster in the NFL this year.
I don't know why I can't find this.
We're definitely going to have one of them.
All right, let's go to the next call. The number's 252-228-5098. Well, play.
What's up, guys? Kyle from VA. It's been a while since I called.
What's up, Kyle?
There really hasn't been anything to talk about. Still been listening every week. Still nothing really to talk about. So I was just calling in, man, just to say thank y'all for continue doing the show, man. Help us keep our mind off all the crazy shit that's been going on in the world. Yeah, just continue it. I look forward to this every week,
man.
And just keep pounding.
Man, thanks a lot, Kyle. We appreciate that. Let's move on to the next call. I think we got another one. Let's see if this is it.
Hey, guys. Joey the Blind Panther again. I put this in the comments, but I don't think I can explain it or ask the question as good in the comments as I can on a call. So, about that tweet.
Is this Cody's tweet?
Okay, of course Cam must be in there.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question about
that. The infamous
that.
Tweet.
But there are only 3 options on Twitter.
Panther tweet.
You have 3 players. You have Julius Peppers, you have Steve Smith, and, you know, he's in the Hall of Honor for a reason, you know. And you have Luke. Now, which one of those players would you remove from those options?
That's the problem.
With Cam Newton.
I would replace Julius Peppers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would replace Luke.
Mine would
yeah,
be,
actually, I think you're right.
I mean, that's a tough one.
Guys, you got to remember.
I guess mine would be...
I'll let him finish.
I guess mine would be Peppers. Because, you know, he did leave us, go to the back, and come back. But, you know, he did retire as a Panther, and and then you have CMC also in that discussion, who I know
17-year career.
But we ever had a receiver go 1,000 and or not a receiver, but a running back. He's used as a damn receiver, but
It's
you
only
get what I
happened twice.
say.
Or two other
Anyway.
times. in the NFL, so.
Wow.
My man. All right, so here is, I think what we have to do is we would have to debate who are pulling off Pep or Kuechly, right? Because Peppers played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons with the Panthers. He made the Pro Bowler. He was a Pro Bowler 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those years. He had, listen to these numbers, man. My man had 12 sacks in 12 games. 12 sacks in 12 games his rookie year, 7 his second year, 11, 10.5, 13.5, only 2.5 in 2007.
I think he got hurt that year.
Yeah.
But he played 14 games, then 14.5 sacks in 2008. 14.5, homie. 10.5. Defensive, he's had 2 interceptions. He took 1 for 97 yards. No. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He had 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 interceptions as a defensive end with Carolina. I don't know.
He dropped back in coverage a lot too. Like he would do the I don't remember that the cover is, but he would drop back. But the what I'm going to say is, you guys got to remember, out of anybody on that list, he is the only one that made the decision that Carolina wasn't good enough for him.
That's not well, but think about when he left. He might have just been brilliant. He left in 2009, and even though people were ready to pay him, Carolina, he saw that this team was defunct.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was, I don't think he made his decision entirely on money. By the way, he was first team All-Pro 2010, his first year as defensive end in Chicago.
So listen, man, this is how I feel about it. I think if you're talking about as a Hall of Fame player, who would end up going in first, Julius Peppers or Luke Kuechly? No doubt the answer is Julius Peppers. But when you're talking about what that player meant and did for the Carolina Panthers, and this might be controversial, I think it's Luke, and I don't think Pep is even close to Luke.
Lies. Get this child. This is children talk. This is children talk,
How
man.
many times the Carolina Panthers Stadium for the past 8 years have been filled to the brim with people bellowing, and now
My man has had 52 forced fumbles. Think about this. He's had 52 forced fumbles in his career.
Okay, was he ever the heart and soul of the defense? Now, this is a legit question.
He was. Hell
okay,
yes.
So
2002 he was, and 2003 his second year he went to the Super Bowl. He only had 7 sacks in that year.
How many Pro Bowls did Luke Kuechly have in that time?
Oh, I'll look it up.
No, see, that's not a fair comparison.
Why?
How is that not a fair comparison?
Because you're comparing the last 3 years Julius Peppers was with the Panthers as his 15th, 16th, and 17th year in the NFL.
Let's talk about this.
You're comparing to Luke.
I think he's going to beat him. I'm going to beat him. Well, here is the thing, is that Luke had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Pro Bowl years. Mm-hmm. Pep had 1, hold on, my mouse is incorrect. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Pro Bowl years. He had 9 Pro Bowl years in a 16-year career, while Luke made the Pro Bowl every year, though.
Every year he was ever a Panther.
Here's another thing to Luke. To Luke's credit, he was first team All-Pro every year except for 2012, 2016, and 2019.
And let's talk about defensive rookie of the year, defensive player of the year. You know,
well, Pep has got all those. He's got those accolades too.
Yeah, number 1 draft pick.
Yeah, number 2. I think was he number 2 or number 1? I think it was number 2.
Also, keep in mind what a middle linebacker does compared to what a defensive end does.
It has much more opportunity to have interceptions, tackles, and forced fumbles than a defensive lineman.
But again, that goes back to what we were saying.
All right, can I ask? Can I look? Luke has 7 forced fumbles in his career. Pep has 52. How about this? Let's go to interceptions. Interceptions, right? Luke is an interception machine, right? 18. He had 18 career interceptions. Pep had 11. He's a defensive end. He had 11.
Right.
I don't know. My man had 100. I think it's easy for us. I just wish you could have seen what Peppers did on the shitty Panthers teams for a long or okay team. This mug was a monster. You saw a shell of what Peppers was at the end, and he was still good. But I understand Luke was arguably is he the best linebacker? Let's say this. Who's the best defensive end the Panthers have ever had? Julius Peppers. Done.
Peppers, yeah.
Next. Who's the best linebacker we've ever had? Luke Kuechly. Let's move on. Who's the best quarterback we've ever had?
Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Cam Newton.
Discussion ended. It's very hard to compare linebackers to defensive ends like it is defensive ends to quarterbacks.
I like Joey's thought process here. Who made more Pro Bowls as a Panther? Peppers or Luke? Because we're not talking about who is the better player over their entire career.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Just said a few years ago, Pro Bowl was a popularity contest, though.
I agree with that. I agree with that. How does my man not make a Pro Bowl in 2002 in his rookie year? He played 12 games. My man had 1 interception, 6 pass defended, 5 forced fumbles, and 12 sacks in 12 games. He had this mug is a fucking. He was. I don't even know. All I can say is this, and I know that you guys are a little bit younger. I'm the oldest hat, which is strange on this podcast. But I remember Julius Peppers catching he sacked the quarterback, Jake Plummer or somebody. It was on like the 2-yard line. Like they were about to score a touchdown. My man monsters his fucking offensive line. Bats the ball up, sacks the quarterback, catches the ball, and then ran 96 yards. He fell on the 1-yard line, like right at the end, like he couldn't. And I just remember watching him on the sidelines afterwards. They're in Mile High Stadium, and Julius Peppers, I thought he was gonna take that oxygen tank. You know what I'm saying? He was sucking so hard on that oxygen mask. I thought the whole that oxygen tank was gonna crumple like a fucking like a beer can. He was amazing, dude.
I remember Luke Kuechly setting a record for having 2 return pass or touchdown interceptions in a playoff game. First time ever doing that.
Yeah. And it was against Seattle. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
but remember when you were saying like, okay, who was the best defensive end in Panthers history? It's Peppers, and everyone else is way below him. Think Luke Kuechly is the best linebacker that the Panthers have ever had, but think of the other really good Panther linebackers that he's way better than. That he was, I think we all say that he's better than Dan Morgan. As much as we love TD, better than Thomas Davis, Sam Mills, incredible Sam Mills. But Luke Kuechly is still the best out of all those linebackers.
Yeah.
Finished his career here, and by the way, as soon as his career ended, became a scout for the Carolina Panthers. Like, dude, when you add that on top of the Luke chance, what he has meant to the defense, the fact that he's been the heart and soul of our defense, and when you add the fact that Pep left, if I had to answer my man Joey's question, if I'm taking someone off for Cam Newton, I'm okay
with that for that reason, because his his career is really, his amazingness was in Carolina, but also the fact that he played 12 more years somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, he had a 17-year career, bro.
Yeah.
That's insane for a defensive end.
And let me ask you, Cody. Go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Okay, I was saying, let me ask you, Cody. You were comparing the linebackers that Luke Kuechly is better than the Panthers. How many of those linebackers are going to make the Hall of Fame?
Sam Mills.
How many other Panther linebackers are going to make the Hall of Fame?
None.
Yeah, how many of those Panthers? Okay, these. How about?
Okay, Sam Mills might.
You know what?
Julius Peppers will make the Hall of Fame. Julius Peppers will be in the Hall of Fame. I wonder, will Luke Kuechly? I think he should be.
He's trying to use Green as an example. Green played 1 year with us.
Kevin Green. We also had we had the other guy, the dude that was from
Kevin Green was more of a Steeler than he was
or a Packer too.
Yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is this: a defensive end, and it's actually we're saying about the quarterback. Yeah, it's unfair because the quarterback touches the ball every snap. Well, them's the bricks. That's why the quarterback gets the girl and gets all the popularity and the fame. It's the same thing on defense. Yeah, a defensive end has a tough job to do, and it's an incredible
But
job.
it's more important than a linebacker's job.
No, the middle
Yes,
linebacker
no,
is,
shush.
No, it's not. No, it is not. The middle linebacker
who gets paid the most? Who gets paid the most?
Of the play.
Who gets paid the most?
Okay. That's because of how they affect the game. Because
number one, what's the number one paid position? What's the number one paid position?
Game more is a more
quarterback. What's the number two paid position?
It's either between corner or defensive.
Lies.
No. Or receiver.
It ain't no corner. No way.
Corners get paid ridiculous.
Number one is quarterback, and then the flip is between defensive end and left tackle. Like those are the three number. I'm sorry.
Luke had more of a job to do.
Lies.
Than Julius did. He had to do dropping back into coverage. Rushing the passer.
No.
Julius Peppers got back in the coverage. He had almost as many interceptions as Luke Kuechly did.
I know. I can't get on that because I think you could get an elite defensive end. Who would you rather have, a Von Miller or Luke Kuechly? And they're, in the prime. No, I want the guy that's getting to the quarterback. That changes the game more. I can get a middle of the road. I'm not saying Luke isn't the best at what he's done, but overall, middle linebackers are not what they used to be in the NFL game. And I mean, look, I love Luke. I'm not trying to shit on Luke in this. I'm just saying this is that if we were going to draft a number one draft pick and we had the choice between the best middle linebacker in the history of the game and the best defensive end in the history game, our ass is taking Julius Peppers.
We just did have that choice. We had a choice between a defensive lineman and the best linebacker on the board, and we took a defensive lineman.
I understand the point that you're making, though, but think of it this way: like back at a point in time, Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher, those guys would have been taken first because of how incredible they were, right? So
because we would have been.
Hold on. In today's NFL, you're right. A pass rusher is valued more, but look how important Luke Kuechly was in a day and age where the linebacker position, especially the middle linebacker position, has been so devalued. A lot of people at the time were mad at how much money we paid Luke, because why would you pay a middle linebacker that much money? But look at how much it did for us. And this is an era after Ray Lewis, after Brian Urlacher, after all these monster inside linebackers of yesteryear. Like, Luke was almost from a different age and did it just as good as all of those players.
I love this because it's Cody's politician coming out. What he's now doing is he's using everything you said against you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and pull clips of Cody saying that defensive ends are more important than linebackers. Yeah. I know he said it. I know you have said that on this show.
Go back and look at the history of drafts. I guarantee you, every history in draft, I guarantee you there is a defensive end or defensive lineman taken before a linebacker. I can almost guarantee you.
What about this? What about one other thing? And let's not even think about that. Is the drop off between the elite of a defensive end? Like if you took the best defensive end in the league, the best middle linebacker, and then you took the second best at that position, I feel like the linebacker, we can get serviceable linebackers that can do a lot of those things. But sometimes it's just really hard to find that beast of an edge rusher.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see. How about this? Is I know Julius Peppers is going to be in the Hall of Fame. I know that with 100% certainty. I will put the fucking jacket on him himself. I will give him. He's the reason I'm a Panthers fan. Like all of that, I love him. So there's some personal admiration. And I'm not trying to shit on Luke on this. I'm not trying to shit on Luke at all. But Luke did, is that how much of a difference was there between Luke and Thomas Davis? I would say Luke's the better one, but man, it wasn't that much, was it?
Yes,
it was not. No.
Yes, middle linebacker. Thomas Davis was never the middle linebacker for a reason. It wasn't within his skill set to be able to do a middle linebacker.
Now you're just fighting the fight here, man. You're just fighting the fight.
I'm not. Dude, in a 4-3, the responsibilities of a middle linebacker are much more than a will linebacker or a Sam linebacker. Like, dude, listen to Luke Kingston talk
Chat
about
room
the
got my
film
back.
And everything that he had to do. Yes, maybe if you're talking about a great defensive end and a great linebacker, a defensive end normally is considered more valuable. But when we're talking about the Carolina Panthers and what these two players did for the team, in my mind, it's Luke above every other defensive player that we've ever had.
Didn't the Tampa Bay just let a great linebacker walk and replace him like he was nothing with Devin White?
No, but now y'all are putting a bunch of
Devin White's still over there.
Devin White's the one they replaced him with. They just put in a rookie. He kicked ass by him, but Quan Alexander or whatever goes to.
Comparable to
there
Luke.
are more. Well, Devin White is right.
There's only other one guy, in my opinion, that's been comparable to Luke, it's the dude in Seattle,
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner, Luke and Bobby Wagner.
They've been the best two since
have
they've
been the best two, and then no other middle linebacker, in my opinion, has come close to either of those two.
What about, who was it? I can't remember his name now. And now that I'm thinking about it, he used to be with the 49ers and he retired not long after Luke.
Navarro Bowman?
Yeah, Navarro. He was really good too.
He was very good too, yep. But I still think Bobby Wagner and Luke Kuechly are the top two middle linebackers in the league since they've come in the league. It's been back and forth.
What a tough question.
Look at, statistically speaking, Luke is even better than Bobby Wagner by a pretty good proportion as well.
Yeah, I think Luke's better, but I think that's definitely.
Well, there's a lot of statistics that people will say that Bobby Wagner was the better one out of those. I've seen those arguments. And they're hard. I don't know. I mean, Luke was fantastic.
Yeah,
I was actually. I think he was. Here's the thing: is Luke never had a bad year, ever.
Yeah.
Even his last year, where we were starting to wonder things, and then he retired. Like, he made their Pro Bowl every year. He was all pro every year. He was amazing. So I'm not trying to shit on him. And I don't want to take it for granted. But, I mean, a pep means a lot to me. All right, we got one more call, and then let's get the hell out of here.
Hi, this is Anthony Rochelle. I just wanted to let you know about the two receivers. I think they would both have a good year, Anderson and Samuel. I don't know. I just have a good feeling that would happen. But I also think, seeing during the film of Anderson, it looks pretty good. But hope you guys are doing good. Go Panthers. I appreciate the show. God bless you guys. Go Panthers.
All right, hold on. We
That's
got one
cool.
more call that just came.
That's
Thanks.
close to what I was thinking about.
Thanks, Anthony Rochelle. One more call just came in.
Well, guys, it's Joey the Blind Panther again, and it looks like I accomplished my goal about giving y'all something to talk about, because, man, this is great. But,
you troublemaker.
Y'all keep saying Peppers is going to be more likely to get in the Hall of Fame. Peppers is going to be more likely to get in the Hall of Fame.
More likely, he's a lock, homie.
The NFL, it's run by the NFL, and they're all a bunch of idiots anyway, and we know it. That's why the officiating is so bad, because they're nepotistic. You know that. So,
Yes.
fuck Canton. It's all about what they did in Carolina, and that is why Luke. That's why I'm taking Luke over Peppers any day, because
Joey,
I could care less about Canton.
We're not just
These young guns. All these
love it.
young guns. I can't believe I'm the old guy now.
Watch Julius Peppers play. It's hard to grade his play. It's not really. It's an argument, but
One of the
you
things
don't-
these young kids don't know, Greg.
listen, you old timers are surrounded. Okay,
Yeah.
boomers.
All right, listen to
Okay.
this. How about
I'll
this?
inform
Is
you.
that there was Peppers had a group of people that were kind of against him, like people were against Cam when he was in Carolina. It wasn't as big because we didn't have social media and stuff, but there was a criticism of Peppers. Like people like
Why
to.
was that? What'd you say?
Oh, it was this easily. They said this is Pep would take plays off.
Ooh,
Like where, like yeah, exactly. So they go this. What I'm trying to
People's
say is
opinions
this,
don't like him, so.
right? Yeah, and the whole thing that those dumbasses didn't get is that when you're a defensive end that's a pass rushing specialist, you can't go 100 on every down. Like it's a chess game. You got to go 80 on this down, 90 on. You're setting them up. You know what I'm saying? You're doing all of this, and sometimes when you're the star and Cam lovers out there, you should understand this. Is if you're the star-ass player, maybe it's not your job when someone else screwed up to try to run 60 yards down the field. But people were hard on Pep a lot about taking plays off, and he put those numbers up. That's my thing. Is my man had 159 and a half sacks, and his biggest criticism is he didn't play every down.
Right.
Like, damn. Well, holy shit.
Not to mention this guy started college basketball and went all the way, I think, to the Elite Eight in college
like
basketball.
Final Four. Yeah,
and
he was
and
awesome.
started college football.
It's a
Can you
freak.
imagine what his college life was like on a starting power forward?
Yeah,
for the basketball
for
team,
a national
and starting
champion. I think he
defensive
won a
end.
national
Oh my
championship. Crazy. All right.
Yeah.
That's the C3 Panthers podcast for tonight. You guys can be a part of the show by calling in at 252-228-5098. Guys, we'll go ahead and ice some fools up and get out of here. Who wants to go first?
Dude, I'm stuck between like three of them.
All right, I'll go
could
first.
I
I'll go
could
first then.
legit do three good ones tonight, so I'm trying to narrow it down to which one I want to pick.
I am icing up somebody that has been iced up many a times on this podcast and who has not been iced up for me in a while because I've been trying to stay out of politics. But I'm going to ice up our president, Donald Trump, when he admitted to being a reality star and saying, let's slow down this testing. If we slow down the testing, we won't have as many numbers of COVID cases, as well as he took what is the term? A drumming or a drudging? One of the two is that the media beat his ass over the Tulsa rally, and then 2 days later he goes, I support a stimulus check. So this is what happened, is that maybe I should be giving kudos to Donald Trump right here, because he's just totally admitting that the American public and politics is really just a reality TV show.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm telling you, we can make these numbers look better by not doing this. And I don't know. I don't give a shit about any of I'm tired of all of it. But the other thing when my man is coming out for a stimulus check 2 days later, and he's like, "It's like I need to get some votes back." So my ISO pick goes to Donald Trump for reminding us that the American political system is about as farcical as The Apprentice.
Oh! Your segue is perfectly into mine. Can I go next?
Yes.
Okay. You guys know I'm not a Trump supporter. Not by any means.
All right.
If you are, it's fine. No problem. I'm not a Trump supporter. But, I also like to look at things, everything from, all different angles, okay? So when I look at politics and I look at stories, and I'm kind of icing people up who listen to everything they hear and see in politics, because there was, I think, New York Weekly or whatever was talking about the other day about how there was the biggest spike in COVID cases in Tulsa the day after Trump. Right. If you believe that, you're a freaking moron. Okay, because 1, there's a 2-week incubation period for COVID, and 2, it takes 3 to 5 days for your test to get back. Okay, so you're telling me that everybody that was at that rally, which by the way is less people than are at protests and riots right now, everybody at that rally all of a sudden felt bad the exact same night, went and got tested, then 24 hours later magically were diagnosed with COVID-19. Y'all are idiots for believing this stuff. They're telling you what they want you to hear to go against Trump. Now, once again, I'm not defending Trump, but I'm also not stupid enough to follow these stupid stories that are trying to put people down.
Do you want a stimulus check?
Ways. They both do it. Huh?
Do you want $1,200?
I mean,
yes.
Anybody can use $1,200, but I mean,
like, this is how dumb it is. Go ahead, continue.
Yeah. No, that's about it. It's just, people don't, like, when you see a video online, before you make a judgment on it, look up the whole video. Because I guarantee you, whatever was put out there, look at the person who's put out there and what their agenda is. I guarantee you they put out there what they want you to see to help their narrative. Same way with news stories. There's no way this news story is true. And I hate defending Trump, but I'm not really defending Trump. I'm trashing media, is the way I look at it. Like, that's a garbage story. Get out of here. I dislike Trump for reasons other than the fact that people lie about him, his rally spreading COVID-19. So, ice up to, I guess, stupid people for listening to the public and media.
Mike Vela says Peppers made a cameo in a Nelly music video back in the day.
Oh, there you go. That's the winning.
And 6 degrees of separation, or is it 7 degrees? Is it 6 or 7?
I don't know.
The saying. Anyway, also remember that Greg Hardy's domestic violence spat started over a fight that emerged when a Nelly song hit the club and his girlfriend had slept with Nelly before. So the story of Nelly and the Panthers is very intertwined. Who's next with the ice up pick?
CK, you got one?
I do.
Yeah, go ahead. With that beautiful, sexy voice you have.
So, if you guys don't know much about streaming, there is a streamer called Ninja. And Ninja left Twitch to go to stream solely for Mixer. He took a big payout, but he was being offered a much bigger paycheck by Facebook and other people. And so he took the sinking ship, by the way. Mixer was already on a downward spiral when he went over there. And they just announced yesterday they're shutting down. Like, Mixer is not going to exist anymore. And so now he's made the decision to leave Facebook or leave Twitch to go to Mixer for a big payout. And he has no streaming platform anymore until he signs with somebody else. But nonetheless, ice up for chasing the money and leaving the people that helped build you. Anyway, ice up, Ninja.
So can I? So the way I heard it though was that it was a good thing for Ninja. So Ninja and the streamer named Shroud left to go to Mixer. Yeah. Now Mixer has folded, and apparently, so now Mixer was going to partner with Facebook and or something like that.
Yeah,
and Facebook, so Facebook gave them the option. Either you can sign with Facebook for double the amount of what you signed with Mixer, or we can just buy you out of your contract. And instead of going to Facebook, they both took the buyout instead, and they're free agents, I've heard. Yeah. So,
well, I say it from the perspective of Ninja is going to be so. Number one, he's already transitioned to one platform from Twitch, and by doing so, he lost a ton of followers. He lost so many. Like, he made a lot of money, certainly, but he also lost a lot of potential revenue for the future by going to Mixer. And he was basically the sole person on Mixer. That's it, him and Shroud. You know, him and Shroud were basically what made Mixer. And now that that's done, he cannot go. I mean, he can try to go back to Twitch, but I mean, he is going to be eviscerated if he tries to go back to Twitch, because they didn't end on very good terms. He is not a Facebook streamer. Let's be honest. He is not somebody who's going to go to Facebook and do, half as well, because he is. There's certain types of streamers on certain platforms, and Twitch worked very well for him. Like, the type of streamer he was perfect for the Twitch platform. His only option now is YouTube. And if he goes strictly YouTube, he's got a following on YouTube, but he is going to be so heavily restricted, more so than he's ever been, that he's going to have an issue. Anyway, this is stuff people probably don't care about, but nonetheless, Ninja, I feel like it's a loss. He may have taken a buyout. He may, in the immediate short term, may not be impacted, but in the long term, I think this is a big problem for him.
This chat room got me tripping tonight. They said Mike Vela said do a Barry White impression. No, I feel like we should actually hold someone hostage more than do. It's like,
want to do it? Right.
Will you drop me $7 million if you want your kids?
If it's retired, I want $100,000 wired to my bank account tomorrow.
This sounds like The Fifth Element.
Whoa, dude, was that the devil or was that CK, bro?
And then, as you guys were talking about Ninja and this and that, David Ward goes, Tony's face. I'm like, over here like, nah.
Did you just glaze over the boredom?
Nah, it's funny. It's funny. Go to YouTube, folks. I was actually interested. You know what I was thinking about with that discussion was what's going on with Joe Rogan. You know, Joe Rogan takes the big money, which I think is going to be great. I think it's going to make Spotify. I think it's another power play by Spotify to take over podcasting from iTunes. So I would be excited about that. But then Joe Rogan, when in the world, I turned on Twitter the other day and people were shitting on Joe Rogan. Like, he was like trending because he was like, you fucking fags if you wear masks or something. Like, he said something like to that effect. And it was like, gosh, who can?
Yeah.
And then the guy that followed him was even like, I'm not a CDC guy. It was like, if you even really looked at the conversation, I just thought it was crazy. I thought it was almost like when they were shitting on Trump for when he said we had an AIDS vaccine. And then later he just kept talking about therapies afterwards. So, like, maybe he misused vaccine as a word. But let's save our criticism for real shit.
Yeah, and plus people will take Joe Rogan out of context in a 3-hour podcast. Like, they'll take a clip of him just fucking around with Bill Burr, his comedian friend.
Right.
And then they
He's a podcaster. That's what they're supposed to do.
By the way, they're drinking whiskey and smoking weed the whole fucking time. Like, it's a podcast of a bunch of comedians. And you know what else people get pissed off at Joe Rogan for? Because he's telling the truth. And he talks shit about Joe Biden being incognitive.
Right. That was which is true. And you have been ahead of the curve on all of this. All of this. I want to congratulate you for all the shit you've talked about for the last year. Because I really am going to have a hard time voting for Joe Biden, period.
Yes, now this will be the second election cycle, presidential election in a row where everyone feels like both options suck.
Right.
Like,
yes.
Joe Biden can't form a sentence without forgetting where he is. Oh, and by the way, if you don't fall in line behind that dude, then you're Trump's biggest ally, supporter. You're empowering.
Which is a lie, because you have been the vanguard of that attack from the beginning. You've been saying this, Cody, and that is, like, first, you've liked a lot of these other people in comparison, but your criticism entirely, you didn't even get into his politics ever. It was just like, this dude is a has-been.
Yeah, and all of a good measure to find out who these people are is go look at every bill and everything that they shamelessly supported in their past, but denied that they ever would do a thing like that now and they change people. No, dude, they put their finger in the air and they see what way the wind's blowing and they tell you the bullshit that you think you want to hear.
Nah, Biden would have been a great candidate in 1992.
20 years ago.
Forever ago.
Can I bring up the point? Okay, good, CK.
Take this as well. Trump actually used to be liberal. You guys forget, he supported Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton during their. So I mean, yes, it's going to be.
He's the best at that. He'll be like, who am I talking to? What do I gotta say? Y'all like guns? I love guns.
Can I just point out to y'all too that y'all brought up this is the second election. It looks like where we have two candidates that it's not. Hey, like let's everybody, please listen.
Libertarian.
There's not just two candidates. It's just everybody only pays attention to Republicans and Democrats. There are more people that run for president. Take a second and listen to these other people.
Well, we gotta be more involved in the primaries, though.
The campaign going right in Tony.
Because they have no support. They have to have people listen to them to get support.
I think you're right. CK, I'm writing myself in, by the way. So now I've got 2 votes.
They wrote their own name.
But by the way, though, it's bullshit that our system only promotes 2 parties.
Yeah,
it's meant
the
to
public
be,
that does that.
Yeah, it's
never meant as a 2-party
right.
system.
But so, for example, like in the Senate and Congress is Republican and Democrat. If you're a third party, you don't have a lot of like who are you going to caucus with? Who are you going to get people to come to your side on? Like I agree. By the way, I agree with you 100%. But I'm saying our politics needs to have a door open so that way it doesn't have to be a fringe thing. When you want to vote Libertarian or Green Party or whatever the hell, when you want to vote for a legitimate third option, there needs to be a legitimate third party in America.
They just need the support coming up to the election.
Yeah.
For that,
well, with
nobody
the
ever
internet,
looks at them. The majority of the public never even looks at them.
With the internet, we should be able to do that now, right? In the past, it's been a money thing.
To be honest, with Johnson in the past, I mean, last election, I think that he had a better turnout than any other.
He had the best turnout than I think he's ever had.
Any other libertarian. So I mean, I think we're moving in that direction, and I think this presidential term
was that the guy that did the something Johnson, about pick up a poop. Remember he had the statement like he was in the he was like I would rather shovel your dog's poop. It was like the best. He had the best one-liner in a primary, and it was about a dog.
He was the dude on CNN who didn't know where Aleppo was. They were asking him about Syria, and Syria had some crazy shit going on at the time, and they asked him about Aleppo.
Well, neither does Joe Biden or Donald Trump, so who gives a fuck?
Joe Biden, if you have not looked at his gaffes, it's worth it. Dude is a hysterical human being because he just does not know where he's at any given moment in the day.
Joe Biden was cool when in the 80s when the Democratic Party was more related to the working man's party. But it's just not the case anymore, is that they lost that demographic. The middle class lunch pail dude sadly doesn't identify with the Democratic Party anymore, which historically has been their bread and butter since the New Deal. Since the New Deal, but now they're the party. The Democrats' party is this. I'll give you this, and we got to go. But the Republican Party is you either check off all these boxes or you ain't in it. Right? Like, you got to be like this. You got to be like this. Be like, oh, I don't like gay people. Sorry. Can't be in this party. The Democratic Party is the party of other. It's like all the misfits of the Republican Party that don't have a home. So you have some people that are like socially conservative, but then they have these other ideas. Then you can have a gay person who's fiscally conservative and all of this. They just don't. They would actually be a Republican. And so the Democratic Party is just too diverse in a way. It's the party of other.
They want you to believe that, but they push all the diversity out the minute that it goes a little too far, and then they ramrod them from behind the scenes, like Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, like they've done the past 4 years in a row. My favorite saying is that Republicans and Democrats are not different. They are two different factions of the business party. They have some differences in abortion and all this other stuff, but they all serve the same masters. Okay, they all serve the same billion-dollar industries that pay for their campaigns to run, and that's why people get pissed off at me on Twitter for saying that kind of shit. But it's the truth.
Cody, I thought that your position on this matter had been a little over, because I've known you for a while. No, a little conspiratorial, but to be honest, the fact that Joe Biden is the candidate right now, I can't imagine a world where any person in the United States knew Joe Biden better than Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. It just didn't make sense. It would be like if we all ran across the finish line and we saw a clear winner, and then they were like, well, Joe Biden is the winner, number 3. It was just it just didn't match the enthusiasm of the party. I don't care about politics anymore.
But this is the last thing I'll say to myself. The most important vice presidential pick in the history of America is getting ready to be announced whenever Joe Biden picks his VP. Because everyone assumes, as soon as he's elected,
have you heard he's going to quit?
Whoever the VP is.
Have you heard that theory that he's going to be elected, he's going to serve a year and then retire?
And step down to the vice president.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, then he should pick, if he really wanted to win, he should pick Michelle Obama as his running mate. He would decimate the world.
I mean, everybody bows at the altar of Obama anyway.
Hell yeah, we do. We love those strong black men, bro. Give me Cam. Give me Obama.
I know Tony does.
Yeah.
Nothing does it for Tony like a strong black man.
All right. Let's get. What's your ice up pick?
Yeah, my ice up.
I hope Teddy Bridgewater is a strong black man.
Well, we'll find out. And you better hope our offensive line is even stronger. But I don't know if you are all familiar with Chris D'Elia. She's a comedian who I've listened to a bunch. I mean, I listened to that whole podcast circle, Joe Rogan, Your Mom's House, King of the Sting, all that. I love all those shows. But Chris D'Elia is a famous stand-up. It came out that there are multiple young women who have put together stories of how much of a creepo Chris D'Elia is toward teenage girls, like 16, 17-year-olds, inviting them out to shows, trying to sleep with them. And it's even weirder because on his podcast, he was saying, pedophiles in Hollywood, that doesn't exist. That's not a real thing. You're a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, I know this dude, and I like him.
I know a lot of people. I mean, I was a fan of his. I listened to his podcast. His stand-up is kind of hit or miss, but a ton of different allegations. And literally like a week before, he's on his show talking about, everyone who believes in these pedophilia rings in Hollywood, it's all bullshit, and how could you believe that kind of crap? He calls all of his fans the babies, which is like weird as fuck, knowing that he's like preying on.
I feel like he's even done a movie role where he liked young people.
And that's another thing.
I don't remember the movie, but I felt like it.
Most of his roles that he plays in like shows, he ends up playing a pedophile.
What was the movie, CK? Did you remember?
He was in the series You, season 2. He was a pedophile.
He was on Workaholics as a Justin Bieber, like pedo fanboy or whatever.
And I'm pretty sure that he's had podcasts, or not podcasts, but stand-up comedy shows that have actually addressed this as well. So I mean, it's really interesting. It's if you look at his body of work, it's really it's almost damning.
Yeah, it's really weird how he has said so many things that did not age well in context, given all the shit that just came out about him. He's a real weird. Don't ever trust someone that reports to have never done drugs or alcohol in their entire life. I don't want to fucking know that person, and don't trust anything that they say. Chris D'Elia, ice up, son.
Don't look at the story. All right. That's the
I know,
C3
there's a
Panthers
bunch of them, too,
podcast.
like a ton of them.
It's expected. We sadly. All right, ice up to all of those ice up picks. The number's 252-228-5098. C3 Panthers podcast Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. We appreciate your support and your participation in the chat room. Cody, you got the Cripple Connection. What's going down?
Yes, I do. Which, by the way, it's kind of dawning on me that it sounds like a dating app for handicapped people. Cripple Connection.
You got to keep it. Yeah, you have to keep it. No, it's even better that.
I know.
Just dawning on you. Like, why wasn't that the first thought?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. But no, yeah, me and my partner Jeffrey do a video game podcast every Friday called the Cripple Connection Podcast. We're live on YouTube. Check me out, Cody Lashney on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification bell every Friday, and you can find me on Twitter where I'm mad about something, dude. It's either Panthers or football, politics, or just some random Twitter bots. Find me at Cody Lax, CODYLAC, and come bullshit with me, bro.
CK in the house. What you got going on?
Yep. Just streaming, man. Just doing the video game thing. And
how close to the tattoo are we?
We have, which is actually
tattoo.
Pretty.
Yeah.
What's this about a tattoo?
If he gets 1,000 followers, he's getting a tattoo, and I follow his ass right away.
Yeah. So I've got right now, in the past 3 weeks, I have grown from basically 10 followers to 325 followers.
Nice.
Which I feel like is pretty impressive, but it's not obviously a drop in the bucket to where I'd like to be. But and so I obviously never had a tattoo, and I've been thinking about it, and so I said, hey, well, let's do this. And so I got this idea of doing a 1,000 followers, and I'll get my first tattoo. So that's what I'm doing. So if you guys want to go check me out at Codizzle Allen, it's going to be here. It's going to be Facebook Codizzle Allen. Yes, that's the way I can tell you.
If you get 2,000 followers, will you get the Hitman tattoo?
Yeah. For
All
sure.
right, we're going for 2,000 followers and the barcode on the back of the head.
Don't quote me on that, by the way.
I just did, and this is being recorded. And on top of that, we've got Greg in the house, the master of podcasts. What you got going on?
Oh, well, first of all, I want to say I'm going to start the hashtag of get that tat for to raise 1,000 because I want to see that.
Yeah.
But you can find me at the Bad Daddy 52 on Twitter. That's my personal handle. And then I'm not going to plug all the shows, man, but just go check out the Geek Ultimate Alliance network of podcasts. We drop stuff 5 days a week.
DC Alliance podcast, the Super Civil Servants podcast. I will plug them.
I hear. Well, I was going to plug all the shows in the Alliance, but yeah. But like you said, I'm DC Alliance podcast, superhero discussions on there. So we're Mondays and Fridays, and we have shows in between. I do my own show with a group of my friends on Fridays, the Super Civil Servants podcast, where it's basically just like this, but talking movies and
Indiana Jones is the focus now.
Indiana Jones. Yep. This Friday we're doing Indiana Jones, and I don't know what else we're going to talk about. News is going to pop this week. There's some big stuff coming on with Michael Keaton possibly being Batman, so I'm sure that'll be on.
Oh, hell yeah!
Hey, if you want to hear some good news about that, we recorded last night, so it's very fresh.
Just got a chubby.
But it's connected to Batman Beyond, though, right?
Maybe. It might be.
Maybe.
Oh, he's the bomb. He's the best Batman.
Hey, just for anybody out there, Ryan Reynolds might be Green Lantern in the next Justice League movie. So just saying, so anybody who knows what I'm talking about, you're excited about it, you're crazy about that. But anyway, check me out.
Let me give you a great. I got to give you this great Indiana Jones story. Right.
All right.
So I am obviously, I just found out that I'm the old guy on this show tonight. Right, and stuff like this. So I'm starting to. I've always been the young teacher. Is that I've been a baby, always trying to wear the shirt and tie to make sure everybody knew I was the teacher and stuff like that. But now I'm starting to get, my students are even getting younger, right? Because kids are taking college classes in high school. I had this he was the nicest kid, man. He was like, sat in the front, he was just nice. He would say hello all the time. He didn't even do that well. But one day he said to me, you know what? You remind me of Indiana Jones. And I was like, why? I was like, do I have a whip? Do I have I look nothing like this. This is not an anthropology class. But what was so wonderful about it is I realized that Indiana Jones is his archetype of what a professor is. So he was like, it's like he was just like, man, because he was a high school kid. He must have been 17. You know, he's taking his first college class, and he's like, fucking Indiana Jones is my instructor, the archetype. I was like, nice. So now my ass, you know what I wear to work? Fucking fedora and a whip. Bitches. No, I'm kidding. All right. C3 Panthers podcast. No, I don't wear that shit. I wear a shirt and tie.
I was about to say, you better wear if you have a fedora, you better wear it on the next show.
I do have a fedora. I do have one.
You should come on.
But it's like it's a cool
nights.
one. It's like a
next time we
Guinea one.
Good. Well, next time we do, because we're doing all the Indiana Jones movies and we're doing them live every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You should come on a show with us, Tony, and wear
tell that story. I'll tell that story.
Tell that story and wear that. Yeah.
All right. It's not that kind of hat. It's more of like a it's not a fedora. It's a Stetson. Isn't that the other one? I got that. All right. C3 Panthers podcast. We're out of here, guys. We'll check you out next Tuesday. Ice up for this show being 2 hours and 10 minutes with nothing to talk about. See y'all on Tuesday.
Keep pounding.
Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. Yeah.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.